My name is Emily. I am 30 years old, and for the last 8 years I lived far away, in a busy city full of noise, light, people, and tall buildings. I lived on the 7th floor of a gray apartment building. Every morning I woke up to the sound of cars, buses, and people shouting on the street. Every night I fell asleep to the same sounds. The window in my small room looked out at other windows, other small rooms, and other tired people. But today I am not there. Today I am back in my hometown, my quiet, slow, peaceful hometown. I came back 2 days ago. I thought it would feel warm and sweet, like a gentle hug from the past. I thought my heart would feel light. Instead, it feels heavy. The streets look the same, but I do not feel the same. I walk slowly, and every sound feels loud even though this place is soft and quiet. I walk down the small main street. I see a bakery with new chairs outside. I see an empty toy shop that used to be my favorite place. I see the small supermarket where my mother bought bread every Saturday. I see the old bus stop where I waited every school morning. Every place looks familiar, but also strange, like a dream that I forgot long ago. I walk past a tiny flower shop. The smell reminds me of something. It reminds me of a boy. It reminds me of Ethan. Ethan was my best friend when I was young. We met when we were 12. He had brown hair and kind eyes. He smiled easily. He walked with long steps, always faster than me, but he waited for me every time. He liked to tell jokes. I liked to listen. I do not know when I started to care about him more than a friend. Maybe it was the day he shared his lunch with me when I forgot mine. Maybe it was the day he held my hand when I cried after school. Maybe it was the long walk home on a rainy day when we talked for hours. Or maybe it was the day he told me, "You can always trust me, Emily." I trusted him. I trusted him more than anyone. Before I left for the city, I told him, "I will come back someday. I just need time." And he looked at me with those warm eyes and said, "I'll wait for you." That promise lived in my heart for years. But now, as I stand here on the quiet street, I am afraid. Afraid that time changed everything. Afraid that I am too late. Afraid that hope is only a memory. I walk to my aunt's small house at the end of the street. My Aunt Martha is 65. She is soft and gentle. She lives alone, but her house feels warm and alive. When I arrived 2 days ago, she hugged me and said, "Emily, you look tired. Come inside, my dear." And I felt something I had not felt in years, someone happy to see me. She makes tea every morning. She wakes up early and opens the window to let fresh air inside. She talks to her plants like they are her friends. She is simple, calm, and kind. That evening, after I came back from my long walk around the town, she looked at me and asked quietly, "Did you see anyone you know?" I looked down. I said, "Not yet." But she knew. She knew I came back for one reason. I did not come back for the lake. I did not come back for the streets. I did not come back for the shops. I came back for Ethan. That night I could not sleep. I lay in the small bed in the guest room, staring at the ceiling. I listened to the soft sound of crickets outside. My heart felt tight. I took my old phone from my bag. I opened the photos. There he was, Ethan, with his big smile, his bright eyes, his messy hair. Photos of us at the lake. Photos of us at school. Photos of us sitting on the grass, laughing at something I no longer remember. I held the phone close to my chest. I closed my eyes, trying not to cry. The next morning, Aunt Martha made tea and eggs. She placed the plate in front of me and said, "Eat, Emily." I tried to eat, but my stomach felt empty. Then, without thinking, I asked, "Aunt Martha, do you know if Ethan still lives here?" She looked at me with soft eyes. "Yes," she said, "he lives near the lake." My heart jumped, but only for a moment. Then she added, "I think he lives with someone, a young woman. I see them sometimes. They look happy." My hands went cold. The teacup shook in my fingers. "Oh," I said softly. That was all I could say. I excused myself and went outside. The air felt fresh, but I felt weak. My legs carried me slowly toward the lake, like they remembered the path better than my mind did. The lake was calm. The water moved gently. I stood there, breathing slowly. I thought about turning back. I thought about running away, but then I heard a soft laugh behind me. I turned, and I saw him. Ethan stood just a few steps away. His hair was shorter now. He looked older, stronger, different, but also the same. He wasn't alone. A woman stood next to him. She had dark hair and bright eyes. She held his hand. They looked happy, so happy that the world seemed to shine around them. I froze. My heart stopped. My breath stopped. Everything stopped. I tried to hide behind a tree, but he saw me. "Emily," he said. His voice I knew so well. I stepped out slowly. "Hi," I whispered. He smiled a small smile, not the old smile, a new smile, a polite one, a careful one. "You're here," he said softly. "Yes," I said. "I came back." The woman next to him stepped closer. Ethan put his arm around her, almost without thinking. "This is Leah," he said. "She is my fiancée." Fiancé. The word hit me like cold water. I tried to smile. "Nice to meet you," I said. She smiled gently back. "You too." I wished I could disappear. Leave the lake. Leave the town. Leave my own heart. But I stood there, still and silent, pretending to be strong. He asked where I was staying. I told him I was staying with my aunt. He nodded politely, like someone talking to a person he used to know long ago, not someone he once promised to wait for. He said, "We should get coffee sometime. It would be nice to catch up." I wanted to say no. I wanted to say why now, why at all. I wanted to ask him why he did not wait. But I only said, "Okay." My voice was small. My hands were cold. My legs felt like they were made of sand. Then they walked away together. They walked slowly, with soft steps, like people who belonged to each other. I watched them until they disappeared. Then I sat by the water for a long time. I watched the small waves. I watched the sky. I watched a bird land on a rock. And I felt nothing and everything at the same time. Later, when I returned home, my aunt looked at my face and understood without asking. She placed her warm hand on my shoulder and said nothing. Her silence felt gentle, like a blanket. That night I did not sleep. My thoughts were too loud. I lay in the dark room, listening to the sound of the wind. I thought about Ethan. I thought about his laugh, his eyes, his words, his promise. "I'll wait for you." But he didn't. Life moved him forward. I stayed behind. I closed my eyes and felt tears on my cheeks. I told myself not to cry. But the tears kept coming. I cried for the past. I cried for the years I lost. I cried for the hope I kept alive too long. In the morning, I felt tired but calm. My aunt made tea. She told me to sit and drink. She talked about the weather, the garden, the neighbor's cat. She didn't talk about Ethan. I was grateful. I spent the day walking around the town. I visited old places from my childhood. The playground with the rusty swings. The bench where I once read books after school. The small hill where Ethan and I used to sit and talk about life, dreams, everything. I sat on that hill for a long time now. The wind moved the grass. The clouds moved slowly across the sky. I felt my heart hurting, but also opening, just a little. That evening, when I returned home, I saw a small message on my phone. It was from Ethan. "Do you want to meet tomorrow?" For a moment, hope woke up inside me. A small, fragile hope. Maybe he wanted to explain. Maybe he wasn't sure about Leah. Maybe he still had a place for me in his heart. Maybe. I held the phone for a long time. Then I typed, "Okay." I pressed send. Then I put the phone down and sat on my bed, staring at the window. The sky was dark. The stars were soft. The world felt quiet. But inside me, everything was loud. Fear. Hope. Pain. Love. The next morning, I dressed slowly. I brushed my hair. I washed my face. I tried to smile at myself in the mirror. It looked strange, but I tried again. I wanted to be calm, but my heart was shaking. I walked to the small cafe near the center of town. Ethan was already inside. He stood up when he saw me. "Hi," he said. His voice was gentle, but not warm. It was the voice of someone trying to be polite, not close. We sat down. We talked about small things first. Work. City life. My aunt. His job at the small shop. Then I asked the question I had carried inside me for so long. "Do you remember what you said before I left?" He looked out the window. Then he nodded. "Yes," I said I would wait. "And did you?" I asked quietly. He sighed. "I did, for a long time, I did. I looked at my phone every day. I hoped you would call. I stayed home on weekends in case you returned. But after 2 years, I thought you forgot me." I shook my head. "I didn't. I thought about you every day." "Then why didn't you write?" he asked softly. I looked at my hands. They were full of work, full of fear, full of confusion, and the city, it swallowed me. I wanted to return, but time moved fast. When I looked up, years had passed. He nodded slowly. "I understand, but life didn't stop here. I met Leah when I felt lonely. She was kind. She listened. She made me laugh again. I didn't plan to fall in love, it just happened." I looked at my cup. The tea was cold now. My heart felt colder. "And do you love her?" I asked. "Yes," he said. A simple word. A sharp word. It cut me inside, but I didn't show it. I only nodded. "I'm happy for you," I said quietly. A lie, but a gentle one. We talked a little more. We said polite things. Then he said he had to go because Leah was waiting. We stood. We walked to the door. He said, "It was good to see you." "You too," I whispered. Then he left. And I stayed. I sat in the empty cafe, staring at the chair where he sat. My eyes grew warm. My breath grew slow. I touched my heart with my hand. "It's over," I said to myself. It really is. I left the cafe and walked home. When I stepped outside, the air felt heavier than the day before. Not because of the weather. Because something inside me had changed. Something quiet, something deep, something painful. I walked slowly through the town. Children ran past me, laughing loudly. A bicycle bell rang. 2 old men talked near a bench. A dog barked far away. The world seemed normal. Only I was. My feet carried me without thinking. Through familiar streets. Past old houses. Around corners I once knew by heart. When I reached the small bridge near the river, I stopped. The water moved slowly under the wooden boards. Sunlight danced on its surface. I leaned on the railing and let out a breath I had been holding for hours. "It's real," I said softly. "He has someone, he loves her, and he will marry her." Saying the words out loud made them clearer. Sharper, but also lighter. A part of me had been waiting for something impossible. For a miracle. For time to rewind. For the past to return. But nothing returns the same way. I stayed on the bridge for almost an hour. Watching the slow water. Listening to the wind move through the trees. Feeling my heart ache, but also breathe. For the first time, I let myself accept it. Ethan was past. A sweet, beautiful past. A part of me. A warm memory. But not my future. That evening, when I came home, my aunt was watering the plants in the garden. She looked up and said quietly, "You saw him again, didn't you?" I nodded. She didn't ask what happened. She didn't need to. She hugged me. I didn't cry. Not anymore. I only felt tired. We ate soup. We talked about nothing important. Then she touched my hand and said, "Emily, life closes one door only when it's trying to open another." I smiled a little. I don't know what other door there is. She smiled too. You will see, but only if you keep your eyes open. I didn't understand then, but I would soon. The next morning, I woke up early. The sky was pink and soft. Birds sang outside my window. Something in me felt different, not happy, not healed, but ready to move. I decided to go for a long walk. Not to see Ethan. Not to wait for him. Just to breathe. I walked toward the outskirts of town. There were fields there, big, green, quiet fields. As a child, I ran through them with Ethan, laughing until our stomachs hurt. Now I walked alone, but the silence felt peaceful. Halfway down the dirt path, I heard someone call. Hey, wait. I turned slowly. A young man jogged toward me. Tall, with light brown hair and a friendly face. He waved awkwardly as he ran closer. When he reached me, he stopped, breathing heavily. Sorry, he said. I didn't mean to scare you. You didn't, I said, even though he did a little. He smiled. It was a soft, warm smile. I'm Daniel, he said. I work at the animal shelter down the road. I think I saw you yesterday walking by. Oh, I said. Emily. His eyes brightened. Nice to meet you, Emily. He wiped his forehead with his sleeve. Sorry I'm a terrible runner, he laughed. I saw you and thought, maybe you could help. Help, I asked. He nodded. We have a new dog at the shelter, a small one. She's scared. Won't let anyone touch her, but she walked toward you yesterday when you passed the fence. Toward me, I asked. Surprised. Yes, he said. And she never walks toward anyone. Maybe she likes your calm energy. I laughed softly. Calm, I don't feel calm. Still, he said gently, she came to the fence only when you were near. He looked hopeful. Not for himself, for the dog. I felt a small warmth in my chest. Okay, I said. I can come see her. His smile widened. Really? Thank you. You might make her first good day here. He walked beside me toward the shelter. We talked slowly. About small things. Nothing heavy. Nothing painful. His voice was calm. His steps were easy. He didn't know my story. He didn't ask. He didn't look at me like someone who belonged to my past. He looked at me like someone new. Someone he wanted to understand. Someone who could matter. When we reached the shelter, a small brown dog sat in the corner of a cage. Her eyes were big and afraid. Daniel opened the gate carefully. She won't come to anyone, he whispered. But maybe she'll come to you. I crouched slowly. I held out my hand. I said nothing. I just waited. The dog lifted her head. Her tail moved, just once. Then she took 3 small steps. Then 3 more. And soon, she pressed her head against my palm. Daniel stared with wide eyes. I can't believe it, he said. She trusts you already. I stroked the dog gently. She leaned closer. Her small body trembled, but she didn't pull away. Something inside me softened. I think she just needed someone quiet, I said. Daniel's eyes met mine. Maybe someone hurt before understands someone hurt now. His words touched something deep inside me. Something still healing. Something still fragile. I looked at him. He looked at me. And for the first time since I came home, my heart did not hurt. Not because I forgot Ethan. Not because the past disappeared. But because I finally felt something new. Small, soft, gentle, but real. Hope, the small dog, Daniel said her name was Daisy, followed me as far as the fence when I left the shelter. Her tail wagged softly, not fast, not excited, but hopeful. I stopped and knelt beside her one more time. She pressed her nose against my fingers. Daniel watched from a few steps away, smiling. She likes you, he said quietly. She hasn't done that with anyone. I didn't say anything. I just scratched Daisy behind the ears, until her eyes closed in comfort. When I stood up, Daniel walked beside me toward the road. "Thank you for helping," he said. "You really made her day easier." "I'm glad," I said softly. He kicked a small stone on the path, then glanced at me with a shy smile. "If you're not busy tomorrow, you can come again," he said. "Daisy would like it." I knew he meant Daisy. But maybe not only Daisy. I nodded. "I'll come." He smiled. Not fast, not wide, just warm. Then he said goodbye, and I walked home. My aunt was sitting in the living room, knitting something blue. She looked up when I entered. "You look different today," she said. "I do." "Yes, your eyes look softer, less sad." I didn't tell her why. I didn't tell her about Daniel or Daisy, or the quiet warmth I felt. I only said, maybe I walked too long. She smiled knowingly, but didn't ask more. That night, for the first time since returning home, I slept deeply. No long thoughts. No heavy heart. No sadness pressing on my chest. Just sleep. Quiet, soft sleep. The next morning, I woke up early again. The sun was gentle through the window. I felt a small excitement I didn't expect. Not big. Not strong. Just a little light inside me. I walked to the shelter. Daniel was outside, feeding the chickens behind the building. He looked up when he heard my steps. "Oh, you came," he said, smiling. His smile felt like morning sunlight, soft and warm. "I said I would," I replied. He put the food bucket down. "Daisy, been looking around since sunrise," he said. I think she was waiting. When we walked inside, Daisy barked a tiny bark, just one, soft and excited. Her tail wagged so hard, she almost fell over. I laughed. A real laugh. A light laugh. Daniel heard it. He looked at me with surprise, not because of the sound, but because it was probably the first time he heard me truly laugh. "You should laugh more," he said gently. "It suits you." My cheeks grew warm. I looked down at Daisy to hide it. We spent the morning brushing Daisy's fur and cleaning her cage. Daniel told stories, funny stories about the animals. I told small pieces of my life in the city. Not the painful parts. Not the parts about Ethan. Just simple memories. Simple moments. Every time I spoke, Daniel listened carefully. Not in a heavy way. Not like someone trying to solve something. Just listening. It felt safe. Later, we walked together toward the field to give Daisy some fresh air. The wind moved through the tall grass. The sky was big and bright. Daisy ran in circles, barking softly, finally beginning to trust the world again. Daniel walked beside me with slow steps. "You know," he said, "I don't see many new faces in this town. People come, people go, but they don't stay long." "I only plan to stay a little," I admitted. He looked at me. "Do you still think that?" I hesitated. For the first time, I truly thought about it. Before, I wanted to leave because everything here reminded me of Ethan. The lake. The streets. The memories. But now something was different. I wasn't healed. But I wasn't hurting the same way either. "I'm not sure," I said honestly. "Maybe I'll stay longer." His smile was small but bright. "I'd like that," he said. "Daisy would too." I laughed again. We sat on the grass while Daisy explored the field. The wind touched my hair. Daniel leaned back on his elbows and looked at the sky. "You seem gentle," he said suddenly. "Not weak, just gentle, it's a rare thing." I didn't know how to answer. No one had called me gentle before. He continued softly, "Sometimes people who are hurt become hard, but you are soft. That's special." His words touched me deeply. Not in a painful way. In a healing way. I looked at him. At his quiet eyes. At the kindness in them. A kindness that didn't ask anything from me. A kindness that didn't remind me of the past. A kindness that invited me into the present. I felt something warm spread through my chest. Not love. Not yet. But peace. And maybe the beginning of something new. Something I didn't expect. Something gentle. Something slow. When the sun began to set, Daniel walked me back to the road. "Same time tomorrow?" he asked. I nodded. "Yes." He smiled, looked down shyly, then said, "I'm really glad you came back." When I walked home, my steps felt light. The town no longer felt heavy with memory. It felt like a place where something new could grow. That night, I wrote in a small notebook. Today, the world hurt a little less. I placed the notebook under my pillow and went to sleep with a soft breath. When I woke the next morning, the light in my room felt different. Warmer, softer. Like the sun itself knew something new was beginning inside me. I sat up slowly. My body felt rested in a way it hadn't felt in years. My heart felt quieter, like the pain had stepped back and given me a little space. I got dressed and went to the kitchen. My aunt was making pancakes. When she saw me, her eyebrows lifted. "Well," she said, "you look like someone who slept well." I smiled. I did. She placed a pancake on a plate and slid it toward me. "Something good happened yesterday." I hesitated. Not because I wanted to hide anything, but because I didn't know how to explain something that wasn't a big event, but still felt big inside me. "I met someone," I said softly. Her eyes flickered with interest. "A friend." I nodded. "Yes, a friend." She didn't push for more. She just smiled to herself, like she knew more than she was saying. After breakfast, I walked to the shelter again. The sky was cloudy today, but the air was warm. The road felt familiar now, and when I reached the small gate, I felt a small excitement, tiny but real. Daniel was waiting outside, leaning on the fence, his hands in his pockets. When he saw me, his whole face brightened. "You came," he said. I laughed. "You keep saying that each time." "That's because I mean it," he said with a grin. We walked inside. Daisy barked happily when she saw me, and I knelt down to hug her. Her fur was softer now. The brushing from yesterday helped a lot. Daniel watched us and leaned against the wall. "She likes you more than she likes me," he said, pretending to be offended. "Maybe she just knows who has better energy," I said jokingly. "Oh, is that so?" he laughed. His laugh filled the room in a gentle way, like warm music. We spent the morning fixing the door of one of the cages. Daniel used a small hammer and nails, while I held the pieces of wood in place. Our hands touched several times by accident. Each time I felt a warm spark, not sharp, not confusing, just warm. After a while, Daniel stood back and looked at the cage. "Not bad," he said. "Maybe we should start a repair business." I smiled. "We would need customers first." "I think Daisy counts as one," he said. At lunch, we sat outside near the small garden behind the shelter. The wind moved the leaves slowly, and the air smelled of earth and grass. Daniel took out an apple and cut it in half, offering me one piece. I took it. "Thank you." We ate in silence for a moment. Then he asked, very softly, "Can I ask you something personal?" I nodded. "Yes." He looked at me, not pushing, not rushing. "You seem like someone who carries a heavy story," he said gently. "I don't need to know it, but if you ever want to tell me, I'll listen." I looked down at the apple in my hand. My heart tightened for a moment. Pain rose in my chest, but not as sharp as before. I wanted to tell him everything, but another part of me was afraid. Afraid of opening old wounds. Afraid of being weak again. Afraid of crying. "I left someone behind," I said quietly. "Someone I cared about." Daniel nodded slowly. "That can hurt a lot." I swallowed. "He didn't wait for me," I said. Daniel's expression softened in a deep, quiet way. "I'm sorry," he said. "Truly." I looked up at him. He wasn't judging me. He wasn't confused. He wasn't asking more. He was just there. Present. Kind. It made my heart feel lighter. "Maybe," Daniel continued, "some people come into our lives to teach us something, not to stay. But that doesn't mean the story ends there." His words felt like a small flame in a dark room. Warm, gentle, soft. After a moment, I whispered, "Maybe you're right." He smiled at me. "I usually am," he joked, and I laughed again. Later, we gave Daisy a bath. She hated the water at first, but then relaxed when I rubbed her back. Daniel accidentally splashed water on me, and I gasped. "Hey," I said. He laughed. "You look better wet." Then I splashed him back, and he held up his hands. "Truce, truce," he said, laughing harder than before. We ended up soaked, but happy. When Daisy was dry, Daniel opened the back door of the shelter. "I want to show you something," he said. We walked behind the building, through tall grass to a small hill. The sky was still gray, but the sun peeked through in soft light. At the top of the hill, we could see the whole town. The roofs. The lake. The trees. The little roads. My breath caught. "It's beautiful," I whispered. Daniel sat on the grass and patted the place next to him. "Sit," he said. "You'll like the view." I sat. The wind moved my hair. The world looked quiet and peaceful. Daniel looked at me for a moment. "You fit here," he said softly. I turned to him. "What do you mean?" "I mean." He hesitated, searching for the right words. "You feel like someone this town has been waiting for." My heart fluttered, softly, gently. "I didn't think anyone was waiting for me," I said. He looked at me with warm eyes. "I was," he whispered. The words hit me softly, like falling petals, not stones. They didn't scare me. They didn't confuse me. They just warmed me. For the first time, I felt something new inside. Not the old love. Not the old pain. But something simple and alive. Something small but growing. When the sky began to darken, Daniel walked me back to the road again. "Will you come tomorrow?" he asked. I nodded. "Yes." His smile was soft and happy. "Good," he said. When I walked home, the world looked different. Warmer. Lighter. New. That night, I wrote in my notebook. Today, I felt a beginning. Next morning, I woke up before the sun. My room was quiet. My heart was soft. I felt something new inside me, something warm, something gentle, something alive. I stood up and opened the window. A cool breeze touched my face. The sky was still dark blue, but a thin line of pink appeared at the edge. A new day. A new light. I made tea for my aunt. She smiled when I placed the cup on the table. "You're glowing," she said. Her voice was happy, curious. "Am I?" I asked shyly. She nodded. "Yes, something good is happening in your heart." I didn't answer. But she was right. I walked to the shelter again. The air smelled like fresh grass. Birds were singing softly. The world felt gentle today. Daniel was already outside, sitting on the steps with Daisy in his lap. When he saw me, his smile grew slow and warm. "You're early," he said. "I couldn't sleep," I said. "Good," he replied. "That means you were excited to come." I laughed softly. I didn't deny it. Daisy jumped into my arms, licking my fingers. Her small tail moved like a little flag of happiness. "She really loves you," Daniel said. "I love her too," I whispered. Together we walked inside. We fed the animals. We cleaned the cages. We talked a lot, about simple things, about childhood, about small dreams. Sometimes we were quiet, but it was a good silence, a warm silence. At one point, Daniel turned to me and said, "You smile more now." "Do I?" I asked. "Yes," he said gently. "It looks good on you." Hours passed quickly. Time felt soft around him. Not heavy. Not sharp. Just soft. When it was noon, we sat outside again under a tree. Daisy slept between us. Daniel leaned back and looked at the sky. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. "Yes." "Since you came here, I feel lighter," he said. "I was lonely, quiet. My days were the same, but now you're here and it feels different." My chest warmed slowly. "I feel different too," I whispered. He looked at me with soft eyes. "You don't have to tell me everything," he said. "But I want you to know you're safe here." And for some reason, those simple words made my eyes warm with tears. Not sad tears. Not painful tears. But gentle ones. I wiped them quickly, embarrassed. Daniel shook his head. "Don't hide your feelings," he said. "They're safe too." The way he said it made my heart open more than I expected. I looked at him for a long moment. Then I spoke. "I loved someone once," I said quietly. "He loved me too, or I thought he did, but I left. I waited too long, and he moved on." Daniel didn't speak. He just listened. "I thought my heart was broken forever," I whispered. "I thought I would never feel light again." Daniel's eyes softened. "You're not broken," he said. "You're healing, and healing isn't a straight line. It's soft, slow, like sunlight." His words felt like warm hands around my heart. "Thank you," I whispered. He shook his head gently. "Don't thank me," he said. "Just be here with me, one day at a time." I breathed deeply. "I can do that." He smiled. And for the first time, I believed that I really could. Later that week, something surprising happened. The shelter got a new visitor, a young couple who wanted to adopt a dog. They walked around the cages, looking at each animal carefully. When they reached Daisy, she wagged her tail shyly, then hid behind me. "She likes her," the woman said. "But she's scared." Daniel knelt beside me. "She's been through a lot," he said. "She needs gentle people." The man and woman looked at each other, then smiled. "We can be gentle," the woman said softly. They spent time with Daisy. Daisy sniffed their hands. Her tail moved carefully. Then she leaned against the woman's leg. Daniel watched her with a soft smile. "She is ready," he whispered to me. My heart tightened, but not with pain. With love. "Do you want to say goodbye?" the woman asked me kindly. I knelt beside Daisy and hugged her. Her fur was warm, her body small and soft. "Be happy," I whispered in her ear. "You deserve it." She licked my cheek. And just like that, Daisy left the shelter. Not alone. Not scared. But loved. Daniel watched me closely after they left. "Are you okay?" he asked. I nodded slowly. "Yes," I said. "Goodbyes used to hurt, but this one feels right." Daniel touched my shoulder gently. "That's because it is," he said. We stood quietly for a moment. Then he looked into my eyes, really looked. "I'm proud of you," he whispered. The words melted something inside me. Something old. Something heavy. And suddenly, I felt it. Not love. Not the full feeling. Not yet. But the beginning of trust. The beginning of warmth. The beginning of something new. Days turned into weeks. Each day at the shelter became special. Each day, Daniel and I grew closer. Sometimes we walked by the lake after work. Sometimes we talked about dreams. Sometimes we were quiet. He never pushed. Never hurried. Never asked for more than I could give. He just stayed. And slowly, I stayed too. One evening, we sat by the lake, watching the water glow under the sunset. Daniel leaned forward a little. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. "Yes." "I like you," he said softly. Not fast, not strong, but real. The world grew quiet around us. The wind stopped. The lake shimmered. My heart fluttered like soft wings. I looked at him with warm eyes. "I like you too," I whispered. In a slow way, a safe way. He smiled, soft, gentle, grateful. "That's more than enough," he said. He didn't touch me. He didn't rush. He just sat beside me, breathing with me, letting the evening wrap around us gently. In that moment, I realized something important. Healing doesn't happen when the past comes back. Healing happens when the future opens slowly. And someone kind waits at the door. Months passed. The town no longer felt like a place of memories. It felt like a place of beginnings. Daniel and I worked at the shelter almost every day. We helped animals. We helped each other. We learned to laugh again. We learned to breathe again. Sometimes I still thought of the past. Of Ethan. Of what I lost. Of what could have been. But the pain was soft now. Smooth. Not sharp. A memory, not a wound. One evening, I wrote in my notebook. I did not get the love I waited for, but I found the love I needed. One afternoon, Daniel walked me home. The sky was full of golden light. My aunt was watering the garden. She looked at us, smiled widely, and said, "It seems you found your place." I looked at Daniel. He looked at me, and we both laughed. Not because anything was funny, but because everything felt right. That night, I stood by the window and looked at the stars. I thought about the journey, the pain, the waiting, the heartbreak, the return, the slow healing, the gentle hope, and finally, the warmth. I whispered to myself, "I am whole again." The stars twinkled softly, as if agreeing with me. I closed my eyes. And for the first time, I felt truly, deeply, home.